it's Senior Runner here, and today I'm looking at the question, how fast should I be running? Now, it's very easy to look on the internet like I did when I restarted running just a few years ago. So I've been running for a long time, tens of years, stopped for about 10, 12 years, came back to running. I thought, how fast should I be running? I'm getting quite into my senior years. What should I be doing? Now, obviously, as a professional runner, or seasoned runner, should we say, I saw myself thinking, it's obviously the 80-20 rule. Look on YouTube, everybody's saying 80-20 rule. Make sure you do 80% of your running at a nice, easy pace. Don't turn off, because there is more to it. Do like and subscribe. So do hold on a second. 80-20 rule, you all know it. Nice, easy heart rate zone 2, or one where you can continuously talk to a friend without having to break and take a big gasp of air. That's your zone 2. That's your easy run, 80%, and then nearer to your lactic heart rate threshold for 20% of your time, sort of just up to there, floating up and down between medium and just below the threshold. So that was what people were saying. Now, I had an issue with that when I restarted running. I was like, well, there's a 3-sided triangle we have to look at, We've got a triangle, and on one side you've got pace, right? Okay, pace can go up and down. What changes if we change pace? Well, it could be your cadence, the second side of the triangle, or it could be your stride length, the third side of the triangle. If you increase or decrease one, at least one of the other two sides will decrease with it. Be forced to decrease with it. But there's changes. You could increase your cadence, the number of strides per minute. You could decrease the stride length that you're doing, and pace may not change at all. So those 3 sides change in relation to each other, and that's what I was thinking. What do I concentrate on then? Do I concentrate on my stride length? Do I concentrate on my cadence? Or do I just concentrate on the pace? Now, when I started rerunning and I looked at YouTube, a lot of these professional channels, a running channel and things, places like that, they started to say 80-20 rule, nice and easy. Just make sure you stay within the 80-20 rule, and you'll find that your body automatically improves, and your pace will improve accordingly. So I did it originally with YouTube channels in mind, and I just told my body, look, I'd like to just increase a little bit here. Can I increase the pace? And if I increase the pace, I'll just check that I'm still able to talk, and that I've got a watch. I can. Am I within zone 2? Right. Okay. I'm just a little bit above it, and I could try and adjust how much I improved my pace by making sure I'm within the zone 2 or just above it, and this worked. However, I could see there were certain fluctuations, and I'm thinking, surely I should be looking at these fluctuations and trying to make sure that, perhaps I'm not doing it the right way, leaving it to my brain to coordinate these the cadence and the stride length, for instance. It's trying to adjust that naturally for optimum efficiency for my weight, my height, my muscle tone. And it's trying to say, well, okay, if he wants to go a little bit faster, I think his best efficient way of doing it is to increase his length or increase the cadence. And you can leave it to the brain, you can leave it to your mind, and you say, right, okay, let's just speed up a bit, a bit of a higher cadence, and your body will decide whether you need to do a longer stride. And of course, people always say, don't they? Don't overstride. So I was thinking, surely there's a point then at which my particular length of leg and my particular stature hits that overstriding point. So do I look at stride length, and then hopefully the cadence will increase? Or do I indeed go the other way and look at my cadence and try and make sure the cadence is right and hope that my stride length eventually hits this optimum where my brain says, that's it, you can't go any longer, you would have to increase the cadence. And this was my question. So after doing probably probably over a year of doing it the way that YouTubers were telling me, I wanted to try something different. Look, guys and girls, I do everything on here. I try things out. Then I tell you these videos when I've decided what I believe to be the best thing to do. So in this case, I have now tried all three. It's taken me a few years because I think it's needed the time for me to be able to do all the different three ways of trying to improve things. And yes, I have done my little half marathon down the road and then had a big break and then restarted each time with a different training regime. Now, the first time was with, like I said, YouTube. Let the brain decide, and I tell myself, look, I'd like to run a little bit quicker. Brain, speed up. I'll increase the cadence a little bit because I feel like I'm going quicker, and then we shall try and push the length by letting the brain sort of judge what's optimum for me. So basically, just telling the brain, I want to go quicker, and those two sides change as and when my control unit in my head says, he needs to just speed up. And I want you wanting to get to that person. Can I catch up that person? I speed up. I get a bit quicker, but I'm just looking at how quick I'm going. I'm not thinking how fast my feet are going or how long they're going. So that worked. I didn't really feel like I was getting optimum improvement, and I'm not getting any younger. I'm now firmly in my senior years, and I am definitely starting to lose muscle mass if I stop running for too long. So I do try and keep going somehow, and I'm thinking, let's just try after the first half marathon I did. Let's have a little bit of a break, reset things, and we'll try using a different training regime. And I chose the Nike Run Club app. Now, the Nike Run Club app is a very interesting one. The way the different methods and training plans in there are quite different from what I found on the internet, and they're a little bit different from the Garmin Connect app, which we did next. So I started with the Nike, and I'm thinking there's a lot of push here about the flow, trying to get the flow right. If you flow right, you feel good, you look good, feel good, you get the best out of you, the best improvement. This isn't from me. This is from the Nike Run Club app. So I thought, well, okay, they're trying to push us to do a nice long stride, and they're trying to get us to just concentrate on making that stride nice and long, but not overstriding. There's a lot of verbiage in there back then in those days about not overstriding, but taking it nice and long so you're flowing, ebbing and flowing as you run down. And so I concentrated on a little bit of length and trying to increase the length. And I just thought, well, if I increase the length, I may increase the length a little bit too much, in which case the brain will then say, oh, you need to slow down that cadence. You'll not be doing that cadence over that sort of stride length, and it will naturally slow the cadence down, which it did. Now, I found I still made the improvements, absolutely. I actually found I didn't make the improvements quite as quickly as I thought I would. In fact, I think the improvements slowed down from just allowing the body to do this naturally. So what I found with that is if you try and alter the stride length and push that as far as you can, you tended to hit at some point that point where your body's natural movement is a certain, the best optimum length is that length. And once you hit it, your brain will not let you naturally go over it, and it will try and it will just put a little block on, and you'll say, right, okay, John, you can't go any faster by increasing the length because you're going to be overstriding, and your brain won't let you overstride because it knows what the optimum length is quite naturally. So I thought, well, that's a bit awkward, because then when you get to a point where your body's saying, I'm doing my best length for this particular speed, you're hoping that you can then try and get the cadence quicker. But then sure, what you've done then is you've started off concentrating on your length, and you've flicked to the cadence. So, well, let's try something different, because obviously option one was a preferred option at this point, letting the brain do it. The brain controls things a hell of a lot better than we can by purposefully concentrating on the stride length. Concentrating on the stride length was great, but not as good as allowing the brain to just control it itself. So then we moved to Garmin Connect, and I quickly realised that look, you did get the cadence exercises with Nike. I do agree with that, we did, but the essence of those training plans back in those days, a few years ago, was definitely more about the length. They may have changed now, so that's so be it. I didn't use the Nike Run Club recently. I used it a couple of years ago. But running in with the Garmin Connect recently, I quickly realised, and I did a lot of videos on this when I was training for the last half marathon. I realised that what they were trying to do is get you to run more like a professional. And the professionals don't look at their watch. The professionals try and get that cadence bang on. And they're looking at the cadence. They're trying to get the pace of the feet, trying to get the number of paces or steps per minute correct. Because that appears to be what the professionals do. As they're running around the course, they're not really concentrating on their length, the length of the stride. Their brain will do that for them, and the idea is that you're concentrating on the cadence because you can control that. That can go as fast as you blooming well want. There is no natural stoppage for that. There is no point where you say, bang, I'm not going to go any faster than that. You can go as fast as you want. You can stamp your feet down 240, 250, 260 paces a minute if you want to, but the brain will immediately pull your length down to what it thinks is a good optimum spacing for you. And I thought, actually, this sounds okay, because obviously I was looking at the watch and I'm thinking, but you can't do short periods of 240 paces a minute. It used to ask you to do that on Garmin Connect, and the training plans would give you you were 10% on target. Well, yeah, because it can't. It's averaging out. Garmin Connect averages out, and the watch averages out. So you don't know what cadence you're doing quick enough. It will fluctuate and try and average it out, and then eventually after about 5 or 10 seconds you'll know what you're doing, and it's the same with the speed. So but with the cadence in mind, you had to wait 5 seconds, but if the training session is 18 sets of 20 seconds, you're halfway through that 20-second stint before your watch tells you roughly what cadence you're actually doing. So they stopped measuring it in recent months, and they just give you the graph of where it thinks your cadence was and where it should be on average. They don't give you a percentage, and that's better because they've realised that the watch isn't accurate and quick enough to change that. So, and they don't want it to, because in real terms it would fluctuate too much while you're doing a nice long run and keeping looking at your watch. You'd just be constantly looking at it flickering around and changing too much. So it was the right decision by Garmin, I think. However, it pushed me into thinking I need to run with cadence in mind. So my third attempt was with cadence. Had a bit of a break and started off with cadence, and now I realised that I could run out and do my easy run and try and do the same as a professional does. Count the 1 second and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And in your head, if you can get a second, 2 seconds quite nicely, a nice little beat going, or listen to music, I realised that you could quite easily go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, or slow it down and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you knew exactly where you were doing. So if I do a 1, 2, 3, I know I'm doing about, I don't know, just under 9 minutes per mile. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm doing about 40 seconds per mile quicker. Now, so I can tell how fast I'm going by how my cadence is going. Now, this is only doable for me because I'm already letting my body at that point, and I have let my body get to a nice long stride where my brain is saying, no, that's optimum for me. So when you concentrate on your cadence, which can go as wide as you want or as slow as you want, there is no barrier set by the brain. That means that you can continuously try and increase the cadence as much as you like, as much as you want. The brain will automatically take your stride to what it believes to be the maximum stride length for your body, your length, your weight, your height of leg, and the pace that you're actually, the cadence that you're actually trying to achieve. And eventually, you may be able to tweak that a little bit and find that you've really optimized it perfectly. But certainly, what tends to get you to improve there is you set a nice achievable pace, cadence-wise, and then you try. If you want to improve, you're going to have to improve the cadence because you're trusting that the body will give you the correct length. So, put in short, I found that absolutely brilliant. Let's go through the 3 different methods again on review and say how I felt doing the easy run. So the first way, doing a nice easy run, allowing the brain to control everything, I was absolutely brilliant. I really did feel good. Occasionally you felt like you wanted to just do a bit of a bigger stride. It's like that thought from the Nike Run Club, you weren't quite flowing right. You felt a little bit sluggish. Although you're doing the right speed and you're in your zone 2, it didn't feel quite right. So the first option, great. I felt okay, but I felt at times I just could do that little bit better, and I felt a little bit sluggish. So moving on to the stride length, it certainly worked, and I had something to try and think about as I was running. But I always felt I was almost trying to concentrate too much on something that was going to stop at some point because I have an optimum, and if I try going quicker, that optimum length starts to shrink a little bit. So concentrating on the length always seemed a little bit unnatural. And it seemed a little bit like I was looking at the data afterwards and thinking, but the cadence is all over the place. Surely I need to control and I did feel better. I must admit, I felt better than just leaving it to the brain. because I was doing something and I was trying to get the flow right, and because I felt better, because I was flowing better and I was nice long strides, I was really feeling quite good, and I did feel really good, absolutely. So at that point I was thinking, oh, option 2 is brilliant, do the cadence, the length rather than the leaving it to the brain is brilliant. But then I tried the third one and I'm thinking, oh my god, this was so good. Just going out there, and I was doing I'm going too quick, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, and I'm feeling really good, and I'm trying to hold back, let's do shorter stride, let's get the shorter, like, come on brain, I need to slow down, shorten the stride, I still want to do a good cadence, so I'm doing 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 instead of 1 2 3 4, and I'm thinking I should be down to a really easy, but I found it so easy. And so natural to just concentrate on the number of cadence strides per minute. And I was flying down the road thinking, I've got to slow down here. I've got to slow down. And the best thing is, you can concentrate on the cadence for God knows how many miles if you're running at a nice, easy pace. And your brain just naturally alters the length. If it feels a little bit tired, you'll probably find your length narrowing up a bit, almost doing a little bit of a bunny hop perhaps, which is not good. But you start to narrow the pace. Your brain will naturally narrow the pace because you're trying to keep the cadence up, and yet eventually, by making sure you try and keep to the cadence, you'll find that you get fitter, and the length of stride starts to stretch and gets to that optimum point that we talked about, which is why I don't think it's sort of the middle option. Why I think it's the middle option, because you can concentrate on the length, but the length gets to a blockage at some point, and that's your natural for that length, and then you have to switch anyway to concentrating on the strides per minute. So I think what I've learned, guys and girls, is if you can concentrate on the length of stride less and just start to concentrate on the cadence and try and get that to a nice natural feeling cadence. Yes, 80-20 is the result. Yeah, we have to look at 80-20. Go out, do your 80% nice and easy, but try and choose a nice fast cadence that you can feel really good about, and that you can actually count in your head somehow. Listen to music, or you're very good with counting seconds. Usually it's music, guys. Just you put the earphones on, get some music, and you've got that beat in your head, and just try and keep the beat. Just try and keep the beat and let the body control the length of stride. And I found that so nice and easy. And you can have music for the different to 80-20 parts. So you can have music that you can keep that stride cadence up really well for. But it's only sort of 3 beats. It's only like 2.5, 3 beats per second, and it's going to get you right at the top end of your 80% of your running, nice easy running. And then that the 4 beats per minute, that really fast song that you've got, will take you a little bit closer to to the higher levels of pace that you're trying to achieve, nearer to your lactic heart rate threshold. So that's the way I found was the best for me. Yeah, try and get 2 types of song, or 2 types of ways of measuring beats. 3 per second, 2.5, 3 per second for my nice 80%. Yeah, 4 per second for my faster run. And then hopefully you'll find that you can improve what you're doing constantly, because you don't get to a blockage and then have to think a different way round. You constantly try to improve that the cadence, and as your body hits that maximum length for the speeds that you're doing at that point in time, The next natural thing is to slightly increase that cadence. Slightly increase the cadence. And your stride length will start to alter and fluctuate as your body and your brain thinks, oh, it's going a little bit quicker. Do I need to narrow that down a little bit? How much do I narrow it? And it will start to control it and fluctuate it, and you'll see the changes, possibly a little bit of a decrease. And then your brain realizes that what it can do to improve it, and you'll start to take off a little bit more. So do think about this a little bit differently from what I think all the other channels on here do say, which is 80-20 rule, don't overstride, and that's it. They are right, but how do we concentrate on that 80%? How do we concentrate on that 20%? And I would say from trial and error, we can do all three. We can let the brain do it fine. I felt okay, but I felt a little bit sluggish. We can try and do it just the stride length, but then you hit a certain point where you're naturally at your best performance. Your brain knows you are, so you can't increase it at that point without overstriding. So you then have to look at cadence. So look at cadence and allow the body to control the stride length. It actually works really well. Don't dislike me for what I've said. It's just something that I've tried, and for me it works really well. Try it, see if it works for you. Hopefully it does. Senior Runner over and out. Like and subscribe.